This is ABC15 Mornings.
And as we wake you up on this Friday morning, a live look at the White House right now, where President Trump and the First Lady are under quarantine, both testing positive for coronavirus. The White House physician going public saying they are both doing well. Now, former Vice President Joe Biden just tweeting, we're just getting this information. Jill and I send our thoughts to President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump for a swift recovery. We will continue to pray for the health and safety of the president and his family. Well, the late night announcement coming after it was revealed one of the president's top aides, Hope Hicks, tested positive as well. ABC's Alex Prochet kicks off our team coverage from Washington.
This morning, the coronavirus pandemic reaching the Oval Office. President Trump tweeting overnight, the First Lady and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together. The First Lady adding, as too many Americans have done this year, the President and I are quarantining at home. Please be sure you are staying safe and we will get through this together. The White House physician saying both are well and they plan to remain at home within the White House. Late Thursday, President Trump announced plans to quarantine after one of his closest advisors, Hope Hicks, tested positive for the coronavirus. Sources telling ABC News Hicks is experiencing symptoms. The president saying this on Fox News.
You know Hope very well. She's fantastic and she's done a great job. But it's very, very hard when you are with people from the military or for law enforcement and they come over to you and they want to hug you and they want to kiss you because we really have done a good job for them. And you get close and things happen.
She had traveled with the president multiple times this week, including that trip to Cleveland Tuesday for the first presidential debate. Sources also telling ABC News Hicks tested positive the following day. President Trump mocked Joe Biden for wearing a mask at that debate.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
He's also admitted to downplaying the virus and has held rallies that defy his own White House coronavirus guidelines. The president just said this on Thursday.
We're on track to develop and distribute a vaccine before the end of the year and maybe substantially before. And I just want to say that the end of the pandemic is in sight.
Throughout this pandemic, more than 7 million people have been diagnosed with the coronavirus in the U.S., and more than 207,000 have died. There's also the question of what does this do to the Trump campaign? The White House released a revised schedule. That appearance in Florida has now been canceled. Alex Prochet, ABC News, Washington.
All right, Alex, thank you for that. Also just in this morning, the White House saying Vice President Mike Pence has tested negative for coronavirus and, quote, remains in good health. Second Lady Karen Pence also testing negative. The White House not releasing a whole lot more when it comes to information right now on who else is being tested or who will have to quarantine. And we are learning Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and his wife have tested negative. They just landed in Croatia. Pompeo says that he was last with President Trump September 15th, but he is considering canceling upcoming travel over the weekend just to be safe.
So what will this mean for President Trump's future campaign events? We are just about a month away from Election Day. Let's get out to our Mark Thompson right now. And Mark, the president just announced that he's going to be coming back to Arizona next week. I'd imagine now those two visits right there, they fall in the parameters of that quarantine.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see. Justin, good morning to you. And we should learn over the next couple of hours or so just how the president's schedule will change. And with so many campaign events and rallies scheduled, you'd have to imagine that a lot of those will be canceled. Let's bring it close here to home. As you just mentioned, the president was scheduled to be here in Arizona next week. He was set to be in Tucson on Monday and then Flagstaff on Tuesday. We're still awaiting to hear if those events would happen. Even without the president in attendance, the president is 74 years old, and the White House doctor says this morning that the president and the First Lady, they are both well at this time. Now, if the president was to fall ill and need some form of therapy, the government would turn to the Constitution. The president could invoke Section 3 of the 25th Amendment. That amendment was passed in the 60s, right after the Kennedy assassination. Section 3 was first used for President Ronald Reagan when he underwent some surgical procedures. It was also done twice for George W. Bush for surgeries, now each time allowing the vice president to serve as president. A similar situation happened earlier this year in England. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he was hospitalized after contracting COVID-19, and his foreign secretary was deputized as prime minister, at least for a few days. Now, as for Joe Biden, he's shared the stage earlier this week with President Trump. Remember, at that first debate, the two did not shake hands. We have not received word yet on if the former vice president has been tested for COVID-19 over the past couple of days. In the meantime, Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris, they will be in Arizona. Their trip is planned for next Thursday. That's going to be directly after the first vice presidential debate. We're going to keep looking at the wires here this morning to get any updated information as far as the president's schedule is concerned, and we'll bring that to you as soon as it comes in. Reporting live this morning, Mark Thompson, ABC 15 Arizona. Back to you.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. As you can tell here, if you've been with us for the past few minutes even, this is one of those evolving stories. We continue to get details into our newsroom really by the minute here. And I kid you not, right? I mean, we heard about Mike Pence during the show. It's been Mike Pompeo just now. It's been one of those mornings to keep ahead of. Kaylee O'Kelly here in studio. We say good morning to you. Our Justin Pizzera in for Nick Saletti and social distancing from the newsroom.
Yeah, it's good to be with you guys this morning. Iris is here as well. She's social distancing. She has a check on your most accurate forecast. I'm sorry, but it's triple digits. What's up with that, Iris?
I know. Hey, it's a fact that we have dealt with all summer long with unseasonably hot conditions that have been in place, and that trend is going to continue at least through the next week or so as high pressure remains in place, and that's keeping us hot. And really, the outlook for the month of October, as we've been talking about, shows that these unseasonably hot conditions will stick around. We're starting to see the glow of daylight, though, as we look towards downtown Phoenix. The sun not up just yet. Temperatures this morning in the upper 70s, with Phoenix checking in right at 77 degrees. So comfortable to start the day, and that's going to be the trend through the weekend. Take full advantage of those morning temperatures. By the afternoon today, though, a high of 106. And we'll talk about which days could be record-setting this weekend in just a few minutes. Hey, good morning, Chelsea.
Hey, good morning, Iris. Good morning to all of you. We finally made it to Friday, and we have Friday light conditions for the freeways that are right here in the valley, but we do have a couple other issues. It's going to take us to the north side of town. Really high country is a better way to say that. We're going to see a closure still lasting for a while. We don't know when it's going to reopen. There was a crash involving a semi, and that's basically all we know. But State Route 89 is south is closed southbound south of Ash Fork. If you plan to travel in the area, you can use State Route 93, 89A, or even I-17. Also a small crash on Loop 303 northbound at Northern Parkway on the on-ramp and off-right. I'm going to show you the rest of your commute here in a few minutes and show you some more desert drive times.
Okay, Chelsea, thank you. Tonight, another 57-hour lockdown goes into effect for the Navajo Nation. The area reporting 13 new cases overnight. Leaders there are telling us more than 7,200 people have recovered from the virus. The lockdown happens from 8 tonight until early Monday morning at 5.
The fight over a new coronavirus relief bill now moves to the Senate. The House narrowly passing a new proposal last night. The $2 trillion aid package would reinstate the $600 a week federal unemployment benefits, among some other things. Republicans have said that they wanted a bill $1 trillion or less. So it is unclear right now if lawmakers will be able to pass a new aid deal before the election.
Well, Maricopa County is now listed moderate when it comes to status for reopening, and that means long-term care facilities will ease restrictions, allowing limited indoor visitation. You still have to provide a negative COVID-19 test taken within the last 48 hours, but residents can now designate up to 2 family members as essential visitors. Essential visitors have to avoid large gatherings, wear a mask, and fill out a log for contact tracing. Up next here on ABC 15 Mornings, the scramble now underway in Washington, D.C. Is the coronavirus spreading to our nation's leadership? The president, first lady in quarantine right now. Could have Joe Biden, even Amy Coney Barrett, been exposed? Our team coverage of the latest developments continues for you in just minutes.
Thanks for watching ABC 15 Arizona, streaming 24/7 on Roku and these streaming devices.
President Trump and First Lady Melania testing positive for COVID-19, the White House physician this morning saying they are doing well. They are now in quarantine. The question, and by the way, there are so many of them, obviously, but we'll begin with this. How is this going to affect an already chaotic election cycle? Joining us now, an expert in this field to talk about it, Mike Noble from OH Predictive Insights. You are a numbers guy. You collect data every single day. This is your game. You study it. OH Predictive Insights. What does this mean going in? We're 32 days from the election. How does it affect the polls, do you think?
Well, this is an unprecedented event in modern day politics. Our president contracting the current virus or pandemic that's currently being passed around. And so we don't exactly know right now what the result is. We actually will be in the field this coming Monday with new polling. And I think we need to add probably a few extra questions in there just to talk about this subject. But what we do know for certain the president was scheduled to come out here next week is that he will not be doing any in-person campaigning for the foreseeable next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's because he is in quarantine. We also know that the planned debate, the next one, is 13 days away. If it's canceled, who do you think it hurts and who do you think that helps?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that it's going to end up probably hurting Trump, and then Biden's probably going to get an uptick. Plus, Biden's going to be out here in the next few days with himself and his vice presidential choice, Kamala Harris. So, again, very unprecedented, but also I think this really sums up 2020, a year. Frankly, anything can happen. And right when you thought you've seen it all, you hear that the president and his wife have contracted COVID. So definitely prayers go out for that. But again, I think this is probably not going to help them in the electorate.
There's so much happening online. A lot of people wondering if Joe Biden may have been exposed to it as well a couple of nights ago during the debate.
That's actually an excellent question. He met with Hope Hicks 3 days ago, and then the debate was 2 days ago. And I think it's pretty clear they weren't wearing masks for the time. And I think there was a lot of bluster and talking during that debate. So, again, to see this as this unfolds, it's a very unfortunate event, but also I think it really drives home the seriousness of this virus. And also, hopefully, people know stop treating this like a political football.
Well, you talk about political football. Obviously, we need to get very real. Arizona is a battleground state. There's a reason we've seen the president here a lot the past couple of months and his family members as well. With the trip that's been now canceled out here to Arizona, I believe for a sixth time, right, in this year alone. If he loses Arizona, is there any path to re-election?
If he loses Arizona's 11 electoral college votes that won to his column last time in 2016, it's a very difficult, almost impossible road to get to 270 right now in the numbers. But this COVID issue, again, has been very much politicized. And again, I think this is ultimately going to hurt him and puts him in a tougher spot here in the Grand Canyon State.
It remains to be seen, that is for sure. All right, Mike Noble, OH Predictive Insights, thank you very much for your time this morning. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Kaylee. Thank you.
ABC 15 Desert Drive Time, sponsored by Accident Law Group.
All right, switching gears literally and figuratively because we're talking about the roadways. Chelsea Davis here with your Accident Law Group traffic maps. And we're zooming over to the east side of town where we still have that small crash on I-10 westbound at Riggs Road. It's off to the shoulder, though, and it's not causing any big backups anymore. So that's some good news. We're getting back to the Friday light conditions we're used to. The rest of your East Valley commute is clear. West side of town, a little bit of brake action on I-10 eastbound once you get closer to the stack. But right now, between the 303 to the mini stack, 23 minutes to go 23 miles. So no delay at this point, just maybe a higher volume of traffic out there. Loop 101 westbound, just west of the State Route 51 interchange. We do have some yellow popping up on the maps. I'll look into that for you. But we have this closure to talk about as well in the high country. If you travel southbound on State Route 89, just south of Ash Fork, we are seeing a closure because of a crash involving a semi. So if you need to get by, State Route 93 or 89A or even I-17 will be better options for you. I'll let you know for sure once it's back open. But again, overall, your desert drive times are below average for this time of day, looking really good this Friday.
And that's exactly what we like to hear on a Friday morning, right? Well, temperatures are looking pretty good too as you kick off your Friday. Maybe you're getting the day started early so that you can get that weekend started early too. Temperatures this morning, 60s to 70s across the Phoenix area, with Phoenix Sky Harbor down to 77 degrees. It's 66 though in Chandler, and in the upper 60s in Glendale too. Low 70s in Avondale. Mesa running a little warmer at 79 degrees, but still pretty comfortable to start the day, and especially considering how hot it's going to be again this afternoon. We tied the record high yesterday with a high of 107. Today, we'll come close to it again with the forecast high of 106. And as you look at that hour by hour breakdown, know that we're going to see the first 90s today in that 11 o'clock hour. And then we're going to see the first hundreds of the day in that 1 o'clock hour in Phoenix before we see that peak temperature of 106 degrees at around 4 o'clock. We'll stay in the hundreds through 6 p.m. If you've got plans to get outside for dinner, maybe you want to have dinner on your patio this evening, I think as that sun starts to set, and especially just after sunset, it'll start to feel a little more comfortable. It's going to be a warm evening still, but we'll be back down into those 90s here as we go into that 7 and 8 o'clock hour. Look for clear skies today and temperatures that are still running about 10 to 15 degrees above the average high for this time of year. Unfortunately, my computer doesn't seem to be advancing. There we go. We'll top out at 106 today in Phoenix with temperatures in the 80s to 90s across northern Arizona. So another hot day across the state as high pressure remains in place, and we are on record watch. After tying the record yesterday, today we're going to end up 1 degree shy of the record. It looks like again today's record is 107. I'm forecasting 106 for this afternoon. Then Saturday, possibly another record tying day with that high of 105. By the way, that record was set in 1988. And Sunday could be a record-setting day with that forecast high at 104. The record stands at 103 on Sunday, and Monday it'll be close again. And again, we've got high pressure to blame for this. With that ridge of high pressure in place across our region, it's going to keep us hot. It's going to keep us in the hundreds. And at this point, I'm not seeing rain chances, but we are tracking some minor changes. There's going to be a disturbance approaching from the west, and that disturbance will at the very least bring in some clouds early next week, especially Monday. No rain, but some clouds moving through across the valley, and it's going to at least nudge those temperatures down a few degrees. So we're going to hit 106 today, and then every day after today we drop a degree or so. By the middle of next week, highs will be in the low hundreds, and it looks like we'll stay in the low hundreds through at least Thursday. Those mornings, that's what you really have to take advantage of this weekend, with lows in the 60s to low 70s each day.
COVID-19 in the valley. When someone gives blood and it tests positive for COVID-19 antibodies, the Red Cross is now using secondary antibody testing to process donations into transfusible convalescent plasma.
The second test that the Red Cross is doing, we're now able to find more potential donors of convalescent plasma, which can then be used to help patients suffering from the disease, with experts warning us about a potential second wave of COVID-19 late fall, early winter. The American Red Cross wants to be as prepared as possible.
So even if you have not had COVID-19, the American Red Cross is still in need of blood donations.
Coming up, working to level the playing field. New for you this morning, how one foundation is removing the financial obstacle that keeps way too many kids on the sidelines.
Plus more coverage on the announcement sending shockwaves across the world as President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are in quarantine. They're getting reaction from both sides of the aisle.
623, growing up to be a star athlete would be a dream come true for a lot of kids. And it all starts on a court or on a field. And sadly, access isn't available for all kids. Not everyone can afford to chase their dreams. It's why former NFL player Donovan McNabb, and his wife Raquel are taking action to help Arizona's youngest athletes.
If anybody knows a thing or two about sports, it's former NFL quarterback and six-time Pro Bowler Donovan McNabb and his wife Raquel, who was a hot shot on the hardwood playing college hoops at Syracuse.
There's so many benefits associated with playing sports. It's just the, accolades that you receive from actually playing, the intrinsic factors of, friendships and going through adversity and learning how to fight through things.
And that's why together, Donovan and Raquel started the Kara Sports Foundation. The organization gives out scholarships to young athletes right here in Arizona to pay for everything from equipment to registration fees.
And it's tough, but that's why we're here. We're here to help in that situation because we didn't have to go through that while we were younger. This is to try to help these kids fulfill dreams and move on.
And that includes young female athletes as well.
Females in general are just left out of so many things. You know, we're not considered to be great in the sciences or the maths or, you know, sports, those things. So I think we're changing things now, and that's what we're trying to do.
Donovan even finding time in his busy schedule to help coach a girls' flag football team.
These girls they're gritty, man. I'll tell you, it's one in which it's fun. They compete hard. They're learning the game. But in all, it's competition at the end of the day.
But both Donovan and Raquel say the lessons in teamwork these kids are learning on the field will no doubt influence who they become in the real world as well.
When you leave this field, have you given all that you had for your teammate to be successful? And when you say yes, then you've done your job.
Boy, they're a great team, right? And a team for Arizona. The goal, they say, is to expand nationwide, and they are trying to raise money for more scholarships with an auction that's online right now. And you can find a link to that with this story up at ABC15.com.
Tonight, don't miss Game 2 of the NBA Finals right here on ABC 15. The Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Miami Heat. That starts at 5:30.
Up next at 6:30, what will the president's coronavirus diagnosis mean for the markets? Wall Street opens in 5 minutes. The futures are pointing lower. It could be a rough day ahead.
And ready for a holy and healthy return. This morning, Pastor Warren Stewart talks about his fight with COVID-19 and his excitement about opening the doors at the First Institutional Baptist Church.